The festival kissed. The sun rose over the dusty village of Nyamwezi with a gentle warmth that spread across the clay rooftops. Smoke from early cooking fires swirled into the air, carrying the scent of maize porridge and roasted cassava. Children laughed as they ran past the market stalls, while the women carefully laid out colorful fabrics for the festival. Today was the day everyone had waited for. The day the entire village came alive with music, dancing, and the celebration of harvest. Amina adjusted the beads in her hair, feeling a nervous excitement fluttering in her chest. She had been waiting for this day for months, and not just because of the festival. She had arranged to meet Kwame near the baobab tree at the edge of the square. Their hands had brushed for the first time under the shade of that tree, and now she felt a thrill each time she thought of him. She walked carefully through the crowd, her kidney swaying with every step, eyes searching for him. Kwame was already there, leaning casually against the thick trunk, the sun catching the edge of his smile. He waved as she approached, and her heart leapt. Their hands met, fingers intertwining with a quiet intensity that neither of them had ever felt before. They whispered to each other, laughing softly, careful not to draw attention, though the energy of the festival made secrecy nearly impossible. Drummers pounded in rhythm, and the dancers spun in bright skirts, the ground vibrating beneath their feet. Amina felt a rush of warmth. This moment was theirs, separate from the rules and eyes of the village. Kwame leaned closer, his voice low, almost a whisper. "I've waited all year for this day," he said. She smiled, feeling a strange courage she had never known. Their hands tightened, and for a brief instant, the world seemed to disappear around them. Then the sharp sound of a voice broke through the rhythm of the drums. Amina. Her heart froze. She turned slowly, her stomach twisting as she saw her elder brother, Juma, standing a few paces away. His eyes were dark with anger and confusion, his arms crossed over his chest. The crowd seemed to blur, the music fading as shame and panic surged through her. Kwame stepped back, his grip loosening, and Amina tried to straighten her posture, forcing a calm she did not feel. "What do you think you are doing?" Juma demanded, his voice cutting through the laughter and drum beats. People nearby had begun to notice, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Amina's face burned with humiliation, but she lifted her chin, determined not to let fear take her completely. "We were just talking," she said, her voice trembling but firm. Juma's eyes narrowed, scanning her from head to toe, searching for any hint of deceit. "Talking? Holding hands is talking now?" He spat, his tone laced with betrayal. Amina wanted to run, to disappear into the throng of dancers and merchants, but she held her ground. She could not allow him to see her crumble. Kwame, sensing the tension, tried to step forward, but Juma's glare stopped him in his tracks. "You know your place, Amina," Juma said, his voice dropping lower, filled with authority. "You are part of this family. You do not act this way in front of everyone." Her chest tightened. She had always respected Juma, had always feared disappointing him, yet something inside her resisted. She had the right to feel, to love, to be young. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, and Amina realized that everyone around had witnessed her shame. She felt the weight of their stares, the quiet judgment that hung in the air like dust. Her hands clenched together, a silent promise that she would not break under the pressure. "I am not a child," she said, her voice stronger now. "I can choose my own heart. I did not do anything to harm anyone." Juma's jaw tightened, and for a moment, silence fell over them. The festival continued around them, but Amina felt as though the air itself had grown heavy. She wanted to explain, to make him understand, but words felt inadequate. Kwame stood beside her, his expression unreadable but supportive. She could feel his quiet strength, and it gave her courage. Then Juma's anger found its edge. "You will answer for this," he said. "Tonight, we will speak to your parents. You have shamed the family in front of the entire village." Amina's heart sank. She had imagined many possible outcomes, but this confrontation, here, in front of everyone, had never been one of them. The festival that had promised laughter and freedom had transformed into a cage of eyes and whispers. Amina tried to steady herself. "I will face whatever comes," she said, holding Kwame's gaze. "I will not let fear control me." But as Juma turned sharply and marched toward the center of the village to gather their parents, Amina felt a cold dread settle over her. The day that had begun with music and sunlight was now shadowed with tension and unspoken threats. the festival drums beat on, oblivious to the storm that had erupted in her heart. She glanced at Kwame, whose hand brushed hers lightly, a silent reassurance. She wanted to believe that love could survive the disapproval, the scolding, the expectations of the village. Yet the eyes of the crowd, the weight of family honor, pressed down on her like the relentless midday sun. She wondered if she had made a mistake, or if this moment, this kiss of defiance and desire, was the first step toward claiming her own path. Just as the first meeting of the parents approached, a sudden shout came from the crowd, louder and more urgent than anything before. People turned, the noise of the festival momentarily forgotten. Amina's heart jumped as she tried to see what had happened, and then she froze. It was her younger cousin, running through the throng, pointing toward something beyond the square. "Amina, look, the storehouse fire." The smell of smoke reached them, and panic rippled through the villagers. Stalls were being abandoned, drums fell silent, and people ran toward the flames. Juma's anger evaporated, replaced by the sudden urgency of survival. But in that chaos, Amina realized she could not escape her own confrontation. The fire would demand attention, but her family's judgment would not wait. She turned to Kwame, eyes wide, unsure if this disaster would save her from shame or intensify it. The fire crackled louder, drawing the villagers closer, but in that moment, all she could hear was the echo of her brother's words and the whisper of her own defiance. The smoke curled higher into the sky, black against the midday sun, and a wave of panic swept through the village. People shouted, grabbing buckets and makeshift tools to douse the flames, but the heat was relentless. Amina's heart raced. The festival had turned into chaos, and yet, amid the chaos, she could not shake the weight of Juma's anger. Kwame's hand found hers again, grounding her. "We should help," he said, his voice steady despite the smoke stinging his eyes. She nodded, letting him lead her through the crowd. Merchants were dragging their goods from stalls, children clung to their mothers, and elders shouted instructions over the roar of the flames. The fire had begun near the village storehouse, where maize and dried cassava were kept, and now it was spreading toward the nearby granary. Juma appeared beside her, sweat and soot streaking his face, eyes dark with tension. He didn't speak at first, simply grabbing a bucket and passing it along to the nearest villager. Amina noticed the lines of worry etched into his forehead, and for a moment, he was no longer her furious elder brother but a man burdened by responsibility. Still, the disappointment lingered in the depths of his gaze, unspoken but unmistakable. Kwame stepped closer to Amina. "Stay close," he said, and together they joined the efforts to form a bucket chain from the river. Water splashed across her arms, and the heat made her skin sting. She worked tirelessly, the fear of fire momentarily overshadowing the fear of judgment. The villagers shouted encouragement to one another, their voices rising above the crackle of the blaze, and for a fleeting moment, the sense of community overwhelmed her shame. But when she looked at Juma, she saw that he had not forgotten. His eyes met hers across the chaos, and she felt the weight of his silent accusation. The fire demanded courage, but it also demanded truth. She could not hide from the choices she had made. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Water was thrown, thatched roofs were beaten down, and children were pulled out of harm's way. The elders barked commands, the drums of the festival replaced by the pounding of fear and adrenaline. Sweat dripped down Amina's back, her lungs burned from the smoke, but her resolve remained. She had made a choice, and she would face whatever came next. At last, the flames began to die down, leaving a trail of charred wood and scorched earth. Villagers panted, exhausted, some sitting on the ground, shaking from the rush of adrenaline. Amina and Kwame stood near the river, their clothes wet and streaked with ash. Juma approached, face grim, and she braced herself for the confrontation she knew was inevitable. "You fought well," he said finally, his voice low and measured. The words were not praise, but acknowledgement. Amina felt a flicker of relief. Perhaps he recognized her courage, even if he did not agree with her choices. She met his gaze, steady, refusing to shrink back. But Juma's expression hardened again. "The fire's out, but your actions earlier have consequences," he said. "Tonight, we speak to your parents. They must know what happened." Amina's stomach sank. The festival, the fire, the adrenaline, none of it would erase the shame her family would feel. She squeezed Kwame's hand, silently asking him to stand by her, and he nodded. By evening, the village had quieted. Fires had been extinguished, and villagers were cleaning up debris, their faces streaked with soot but alive with relief. Amina returned home, her hands still wet, her hair sticking to her face. Inside, the house was dim, the smell of smoke lingering, and her parents waited in the sitting room. Her mother's face was a mixture of worry and disappointment, while her father's brow was furrowed, eyes heavy with unspoken questions. Juma stepped forward first. "Mother, father, something happened today," he said, his voice firm but controlled. Amina felt the weight of every eye in the room. Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line, and her father leaned back, silently urging Juma to speak. She was holding hands with Kwame, "Mother, father." "In the middle of the festival," Juma said. The words landed heavily, each one a hammer striking her chest. Amina's mother gasped, clutching her shawl, while her father's eyes narrowed, the flicker of anger flashing like lightning. Amina took a deep breath. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind, imagining the words that might soften the blow, and yet nothing felt adequate. "It is true," she said quietly, "but I did not mean to shame anyone. I care for him, and I acted honestly, not out of disrespect." Her mother's eyes filled with tears, and Amina's father rose slowly from his chair. "Respect and family honor are not optional, Amina," he said, voice stern. "You know our ways. You have crossed a line." She bowed her head, feeling the sting of his words, but she refused to let shame make her crumble completely. Kwame, standing near the doorway, spoke softly. "Sir, I care for your daughter, and I intend no harm. I hope you can see that my intentions are sincere." There was a pause. Amina's father studied him carefully, weighing the words against the sting of betrayal and cultural expectation. Juma's gaze softened slightly, though the anger had not fully left his eyes. "We will discuss this further. For now, remember that your actions ripple through the entire family. Do you understand?" Amina nodded, swallowing hard. She did understand. She had felt the weight of her choices today, and she knew the journey ahead would not be easy. The night settled over Nyamwezi, quiet but tense. Amina lay on her mat, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the festival, the fire, and the confrontation that had changed everything. She thought about Kwame, whose presence gave her courage, and about Juma, whose disappointment was a force she could neither ignore nor dismiss. The village slept, unaware of the storm of emotions that lingered behind closed doors. Suddenly, a knock came at the door. Amina's heart jumped. She glanced at her parents, who were seated silently, and then moved cautiously toward the door. Outside, in the dim glow of lantern light, stood a familiar figure, but not Kwame. It was Zuberi, the village elder, known for his wisdom but also for his unyielding authority. "Amina," he said softly, but his eyes held a sharp intensity. "There are things you must know. What happened today is not just about hands held in secret. There are rumors, and there is unrest in the village. I have come to speak the truth before it spreads beyond control." Amina froze, sensing that whatever he had to reveal could change everything she thought she understood about her village, her family, and even herself. The quiet night seemed suddenly alive with anticipation, every shadow stretching long and dark. Amina stepped closer, her hands trembling slightly as she held the door open. Zuberi's eyes were sharp, almost piercing, but there was no anger in them, only concern. "May I come in?" he asked. Her parents exchanged cautious glances, and after a silent nod from her father, she stepped aside. Inside, Zuberi's gaze swept the room, lingering on each family member. "I came because the festival is over, yet the village is not at peace," he began. His voice was calm, deliberate, yet carried weight. "When people see something unusual, especially involving young hearts, they speak. Whispers spread faster than truth. I want you to hear the truth before the gossip shapes it into something worse." Amina's father leaned forward, hands clasped. "Speak, Zuberi," he said. Juma stood behind Amina, tension visible in the lines of his shoulders. Kwame had waited outside, but his figure lingered in Amina's mind, a source of courage amid the storm. Zuberi's eyes softened slightly as they met Amina's. "The fire today, it was not accidental," he said. The words struck her chest like a sudden drumbeat. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. Her mother gasped, and even her father frowned, disbelief mingling with worry. "What do you mean?" her father demanded. "The storehouse has been secure for decades. How could fire start without carelessness?" Zuberi shook his head slowly. "It was deliberate. Someone wanted to create distraction, to test the village, to see how far chaos could spread." His gaze shifted briefly to Juma, who stiffened. And while the villagers focused on the flames, other eyes were watching the festival, waiting for scandal to erupt. You, Amina, became the center of a story you did not start, but one that could be used against you and your family. Amina's heart pounded. She had thought the fire had been a cruel coincidence, but Zuberi's words made the event feel calculated. She glanced at Quaim, picturing him standing by the river, helping her without fear, unaware that their love had been observed, measured, and judged. A mix of anger and fear rose inside her. Who would do this? Her father asked, his voice tight with concern. Who would use my daughter as a pawn? Zuberi's expression darkened. I do not know for certain, but some from neighboring villages have long envied Nyamwezi. They see our traditions, our unity, our young ones free in love, and they wish to disrupt it. You must be cautious. The eyes that watch you are not all friendly. Amina's hands clenched into fists at her sides. She had imagined embarrassment from her family as the greatest obstacle. Now, she realized the world outside her home could be far more dangerous. The gentle festival, once a stage for joy, had become a lens that revealed envy, suspicion, and hidden threats. Her mother moved closer, touching her shoulder lightly. Amina, we love you, but you must understand that your choices carry more weight than you think, she said. The family and the village rely on your wisdom, not just your heart. Amina swallowed, nodding. I understand, mother, but I will not hide who I am. I cannot live in fear of whispers. Her voice was steady, yet she felt the tremor of uncertainty deep within. Juma stepped forward, his gaze sharp. You have courage, Amina, that I will not deny, but courage must be measured with caution. Tonight, we speak more of this as a family, and you must be prepared to accept the consequences of love and defiance. The room fell silent, the weight of Zuberi's words pressing in. Amina felt the tension like a living thing around her. Outside, the festival torches had been extinguished, leaving only stars and the soft rustle of wind through the baobab trees. The village seemed peaceful, but she knew the undercurrent of suspicion would linger for days, perhaps weeks. Quaim arrived quietly at the door. His eyes met hers, and in that look, she found a promise of loyalty. He did not speak, only nodded, understanding the unspoken danger surrounding them both. Zuberi stood, preparing to leave. The village watches, Amina. Not all eyes are cruel, but not all are kind either. Be careful whom you trust, he said. His tone was final, carrying the weight of years of wisdom. Then he left, his steps slow but purposeful. Night deepened over Nyamwezi, and Amina could not sleep. She paced the small room, thinking of the fire, her family's disappointment, and Quaim's hand in hers. Questions raced through her mind. Could love survive judgment and threats? Could courage remain when fear lurked at every corner? Suddenly, a soft sound at the window made her freeze. She turned, expecting the wind, but saw Quaim's face illuminated by the faint moonlight. I had to see you, he whispered. I cannot wait for your family to decide your fate before I speak my heart. Amina stepped closer, heart racing. Quaim, it is dangerous. We cannot let the village see us. Not now. He smiled faintly, his eyes full of quiet determination. I will not let fear stop me. I care for you, Amina, and I will face whatever comes. If your family cannot accept me, we will find a way, together. Her heart swelled with a mixture of hope and worry. She knew the road ahead would not be easy. Love in the village was bound by custom and expectation, and any misstep could bring shame, danger, or worse. Yet for the first time, she felt a flicker of defiance that could not be extinguished. As they whispered in the moonlight, planning how to navigate the coming days, a sudden sound of footsteps echoed from the yard. Amina froze. Someone was approaching, swift and deliberate. She felt a chill. The first hint that the unrest Zuberi had warned about was not just rumor. A shadow fell across the window, and a familiar voice called her name, not Quaim's, not Juma's, but someone else entirely. Amina, come quickly. There's news from the festival. News you must hear immediately. Her heart leapt. The night had promised quiet after chaos, yet it delivered a revelation she could not anticipate. She looked at Quaim, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. We cannot ignore this, he said quietly. Whatever is coming, it cannot wait. Amina nodded, her pulse quickening. Together, they moved toward the door, stepping into the uncertainty that the night had prepared for them. The shadows seemed deeper, the wind colder, and the world beyond the walls of her home suddenly vast and threatening. Whatever awaited her at the festival grounds was beyond imagination, and yet she could not turn away. Her choices, her courage, and her love were about to collide with forces she had not yet understood. Amina stepped outside into the cool night air, her heart pounding as she followed the silhouette that had called her name. The moon hung low over Nyamwezi, casting long shadows across the clearing. Crickets filled the silence with their steady song, but beneath their rhythm she felt a tension, a heaviness that pulled her forward. Kwame walked beside her, alert and cautious, ready for whatever they were about to face. The figure ahead finally stopped near the edge of the festival grounds. As they approached, Amina recognized him. It was Kasim, a young man from the neighboring village of Utendi. His presence alone raised questions. He rarely visited Nyamwezi unless something serious had happened. His face was drenched in sweat, not from fear but from urgency. "Amina," he said, breathing hard, "I came because you had to know before sunrise. People in Utendi are talking. They say the fire was started to accuse Nyamwezi of negligence. They want a reason to confront your village and your story." Your moment with Kwame. He hesitated, eyes flicking toward Kwame uneasily. "They say it shows Nyamwezi's youth has become careless, that your people are losing discipline." Amina felt her stomach twist. The idea that her private emotions had become fuel for conflict between villages made her breath catch. Kwame stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Who is spreading this?" Kasim shook his head. "I don't know, but someone is twisting everything. They say Nyamwezi is distracted, unfocused. They say the fire is proof your village can't protect its own resources. And now they say," he paused again, reluctant to continue. "They say Amina's actions are a symbol of the whole village losing respect for tradition." Amina swallowed, her throat suddenly dry. "My actions?" she said quietly. A moment. A simple moment between the hearts. "Now a reason to start conflict?" "Yes," Kasim said, "but that is not all." He stepped closer, lowering his voice even more. "There is talk of a meeting at dawn. Some elders from Utendi plan to confront Nyamwezi's council. If Nyamwezi cannot defend its honor, there may be consequences." Amina breathed in sharply. Dawn was only hours away. The night that should have brought peace after a chaotic day was now unraveling into another crisis. Kwame took her hand gently. "We must speak to your father," he said. "Now, if there is to be a confrontation, your family and your village must know the truth before it arrives at their door." She nodded, her heart pounding. All her life, she had been told that a single action could ripple through a family. She never imagined it could ripple through an entire region. They hurried back to her home, where the dim light of oil lamps flickered against the walls. Her parents and Juma were still awake, seated in tense silence as though they had been waiting for news they could not name. Amina burst inside. "Father, we must talk," she said, struggling to steady her breath. Kasim followed behind, and the moment her father saw him, his expression changed from weary disappointment to sharp focus. "What is this boy doing here?" her father asked. Kasim bowed respectfully. "I bring news your village needs to hear. The fire today was no accident. It was started to provoke your people, and now they are using Amina's moment at the festival to say Nyamwezi has begun to fail its traditions. They plan to come at dawn." Juma stepped forward, chest rising and falling with anger. "They dare question our honor because of a young girl's feelings? Let them come. We have nothing to hide." Amina's father raised a hand, silencing him. "We will not meet anger with anger," he said. His gaze shifted to Amina. "But this is bigger than what you did. This is now about the village." Amina swallowed hard. Every misjudgment, every impulse, every emotion from earlier in the day now felt heavier than stone. But she lifted her chin. "Then let me speak," she said quietly. "If they use me to question Nyamwezi's honor, I will face them myself. I will not let my village carry my weight." Her mother gasped softly, but her father's eyes softened with something like pride and sorrow mixed together. "You are brave, Amina," he said, "but this is not a burden for a girl to carry alone." Kwame stepped forward. "She will not carry it alone," he said. "I stand with her. I care for her with honor, not disrespect. And if they question her actions, they question mine as well." Juma glared at Kwame, but this time his anger faltered. After a long silence, he finally nodded. "Then stand with dignity," he said. "Stand as someone worthy of her." The family prepared for dawn with heavy hearts. Word spread quickly among the villagers as they gathered near the council hut, torches flickering, children held close by their elders. The air was thick with tension. Amina stood beside her parents and Juma, with Kwame slightly behind her, but close enough to give her courage. As the sky began to lighten, figures emerged from the path leading from Utendi. They carried staffs and wore the robes of their council. Their leader, a stern elder named Baruti, stepped forward. He scanned the villagers of Nyamwezi with a critical eye before finally settling on Amina. "So this is the girl they speak of," he said, voice cold. "The one whose actions reflect the turmoil of Nyamwezi." Amina felt her chest tighten, but she did not look away. "I am the one," she said calmly, "but my actions reflect only myself, not my village." Baruti raised an eyebrow. "A bold claim. But what of the fire? What of the rumors of disrespect? The whispers that your youth have lost their ways?" Before Amina could answer, Zuberi stepped forward. "Baruti, we know someone from your village helped spread these rumors," he said. "We also know the fire was lit by hands familiar with the storehouse ropes. If you wish to discuss truth, then let us lay all truth on the ground." A murmur rose among the crowd. Baruti stiffened. "Are you accusing us?" "I am saying," Zuberi continued, "that someone wanted fear, someone wanted division, and they used a girl's innocent moment to twist the story." A silence fell, heavy and charged. Baruti's council members shifted uneasily. Amina stepped forward again. "You say my actions show weakness," she said softly, "but holding a hand is not weakness. It is honesty. I will not apologize for caring for someone. I will only apologize for causing confusion." Her voice trembled, but her spirit did not. Kwame joined her. "And I stand with her. My intentions are honorable. Let no one twist them into something else." Juma stepped forward too. "Amina is my sister," he said, voice steady. "I disciplined her. I questioned her. That is our family's right. But it is not the right of anyone beyond Nyamwezi." The crowd murmured again, louder this time. Baruti looked around, realizing the strength of unity before him. Slowly, reluctantly, he nodded. "Very well," he said. "Let the truth stand. Let the fire be investigated properly, and let the girl's actions remain a family matter." Relief washed over the villagers. Amina felt her knees weaken, but Kwame caught her before she stumbled. Her father placed a hand over her back. Juma stood beside her without anger for the first time all day. As the Utendi council departed, the sun finally rose, casting warm light over Nyamwezi. The tension in the village eased, and for the first time since the festival began, Amina felt she could breathe. She turned to Kwame. "Whatever comes next," she said softly, "we face it together." He smiled. "Together," he echoed. And for the first time, she believed it. The festival had brought joy, shame, fire, conflict, and truth. But in the end, it brought understanding too. Love had not broken her village. Fear had tried to, and courage quiet, trembling. But real had restored what whispers tried to destroy. Amina walked forward into the morning light, no longer hiding her heart, no longer fearing her steps. She had faced her family, her village, and the storm that came from beyond it. The festival kiss had changed everything, but it had not broken her. It had made her stronger. And Nyamwezi would remember that long after the fires were gone.